Should I share it on my Facebook when we go live?
Yeah, you can actually share it on your Facebook. That would be cool. There'll be more viewers.
Where do you go to? Awakening Point or your page?
I think I tagged you in it, so it should be on there already.
But Alan.
And we're live, everyone, beaming to you directly from a secret location in the Aussie Outback and the United States. Wait till you hear who we've got online with us today. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this gentleman. He's got experience in Zen martial arts, neuro-linguistics programming, meditation, sports psychology, life coaching, and conscious living. He's an author, speaker, podcast host, and conscious thought leader who has studied meditation in Nepal, survived a near-death experience while trekking Everest, trained MMA with pro fighters in Thailand, and listen to this, spent time in China training with Shaolin monks. Now, folks, what I'd like to do is welcome live Mr. Matt Belair. Matt, welcome to our show, brother.
Oh, man. It's great to meet you, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
Dude, wow. Just having a quick chat with you before we went live. You have done so much. And as I was saying before, I've just got so much respect for human beings who follow, their path, who follow their bliss. And brother, you are really following your bliss. It's an absolute honor to have you on, Matt.
Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that.
So, wow, a near-death experience while trekking Everest. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Good. Okay. It's a good start. I'll try to give you the short story. It could be the long one, but I've had a few in my life, and that was maybe the first and most profound. But it was the big travel that I had and I wanted to meditate with Tibetan monks. And I realized, first of all, when I tried to do that, Tibet is still occupied by China, so I had to go to Nepal. And so when I arrived in Nepal, the first question they asked was like, "Hey, are you going to trek Mount Everest?" And I didn't even clue in that Everest was there. So I was like, I guess, if I'm here, I guess I'm trekking Everest. So it was in the winter. It was in February, I think, late January, February. And I was trekking up, and there's two peaks you can see. Gokuri is supposed to be more beautiful. You get a better view of the Himalayas, and there's Everest Base Camp, which is most popular. So I was like, I realized I could do both. So I did about 4 days up, and I got to Gokuri. Then I had to do 1 day down and 3 days up to Everest Base Camp. And so on the first day back up, it snowed a little bit, and it was kind of funny, and it's high up in the Himalayas. The second day, it snowed an incredible amount. It snowed like 40 to 60 centimeters. And what had happened was, when I got to Gokuri, it was sunny every single day. And when we got to the viewpoint, he's like, "Okay, you can hike up another hour and get the viewpoint, or we can go in the morning." So we had been hiking all day, and it had been sunny all day. So we decided that we'll go in the morning. And when I wake up, I couldn't see anything. It was so foggy. We couldn't see anything at all. It's the first foggy day. So you hike up for 5 days. This is the point. You can't go back. Well, I guess you can, one time in your life. And so I was so pissed. I was so angry. And it took me I was walking down and just trying to get out of this anger, trying to get out of this anger. And so when it snowed, the guides basically told me, I had a flight to Thailand to go train MMA. And they're like, "If you don't go up to get to this next checkpoint, you're not going to see base camp." And I'm like, F that, I have got to go. So we're the only ones who leave. And we start walking, and it's so deep. It's knee and waist deep, knee and waist deep in some spots. And it's kind of funny at first, but what happens is, if you've ever walked in knee and waist deep snow, it takes a lot of your energy. So I'm sweating profusely after 2 hours and haven't gone anywhere, trying to get through this valley. So we duck down kind of off our path and find this little hut. We hadn't gone anywhere, maybe half a kilometer, something stupid. And now at this point, all of my stuff is soaking wet, and I'm 2 days off of base camp, so I'm really high up. And so I'm drenched, soaking wet, we got to keep going. So we keep going, and then at this point now it's getting darker, and I'm drenched with sweat internally, and all my stuff is wet, and my body starts to shut down a little bit. And basically I start to sports psychology myself. I was like, I have unlimited energy, you know, this is fine, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And I keep doing that. We get to another pitch and you see people coming and they're like, hey, don't go up. We're the only ones who've left to go down and you shouldn't go. My guys look at me and they're basically like, if you don't go, you're not going to see it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going. I don't care. And so it's this huge next pitch. And as I start to go up this pitch, it's getting colder. It's getting darker. And I'm just drenched with sweat. And my body starts to slowly shut down more and more and more. I keep saying, it's fine. I'm okay. I can do this. And I start to lean on rocks. And I start to take these little breaks. And because this is a really steep, it's not all super steep, but this part was a very steep part. And I start to lean on rocks. And then eventually I get to this point where my voice outside of myself said, it's okay, Matt, go to sleep. You'll be fine. It was like myself telling myself. It was so weird. And at that point, I was like, oh shit, this is not good. So I kind of like recognize that. And I'm basically on a super steep pitch. It's so windy. My body, it's gone beyond past like cold and uncomfortable. And I just kind of walk up and I was like, I get to the top of this pitch and it's the Everest graveyard. And I was like, oh my God, of course. And so I basically keep walking. I finally get to, it's pretty far still. I make it, I have to cross this river and they're trying to find these spots to get across nicely. I just walk across. I don't even care. I could just fall down and see that cabin and just let the body go. Get inside. I can't stay warm. And I get up the next day. I make it to base camp. I was like, hey, you guys got to heli me out of here because like I'm not good. I couldn't get any energy back. I get down to the bottom and I find out that it was a record-breaking snowstorm that they had. And what the doctor told me, he's like, basically your body was shutting down because number one, you're at altitude, but it's like doing a CrossFit, beyond CrossFit at altitude with the body sweating and then cold. So I was like so I had everything working against me. And he's like, yeah, your body was shut down. If you would have fallen asleep, there would have been no helicopters in or out, and your body probably just would have went out. So I got through it, still here.
Whoa, dude. So you actually kind of like heard yourself kind of saying to yourself at that moment, like, it's okay, Matt, like you can go to sleep.
Yeah, it was me. That's what it was that was really odd. And that's when I knew I was in trouble because it was like outside. It wasn't like an internal dialogue thing. It was like a separate thing. And I was like, whoa, that's weird.
Oh, yes.
But it was me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I am in trouble. Get through this. So I just went into like full on like robot mode or something.
Wow. That's amazing. You know, what started you actually walking your path this way? When was it that you actually made the conscious decision that, okay, I'm not going to just cave in and live a life kind of like just doing a normal job to pay bills or whatever. I'm going to actually follow my bliss?
It's a good question. I get that one a lot, actually. And my response is I was made like this, I think. You know, when I was a kid, I loved martial arts, but I was always curious what humans were capable of and what I was capable of. And so, I was really inspired by martial arts. I'd do meditation. I'd punch things. I would explore meditation. And Bruce Lee was a huge mentor of mine. And, into my teens, I just kept exploring consciousness, meditation, lucid dreaming, astral projection. Anything that would allow me to like understand myself more and understand my mind, how to heal myself. I was like, oh man, I bet you I could learn how to heal myself. And I didn't realize that these were weird thoughts to have. I thought they were normal. I was like, obviously you can heal yourself. Obviously we can do these things. Obviously, look, you can do this. It just came naturally to me. And so then when, kind of college was done, I wanted to go snowboarding, and I just went out to Whistler and I snowboarded for 8 years, and I just kind of continued down the path of just learning about these concepts, exploring them, traveling, reading, just doing whatever I could, but also being in a high performance environment, getting as good at snowboarding as I could be, learning more about the mental game of sport, things like that. And so when there came a point in the snowboarding where I was like, I'm ready to take the next step. I really want to pursue this and see, touch the limits and be around the world's best. And that's when I I wanted to learn enlightenment. So it's like, okay, I want to be enlightened. Who's enlightened? It's like Tibetan monks. That's the best. So let's go there. And I want to learn MMA. So who's the best at that? Let's go to a professional training camp in Thailand. Who superhuman performance? Who is beyond that than Shaolin monks? So I went down to China and trained with Shaolin monks that could break stone with 2 fingers and thicker pieces over his head. And so I want to get to the bottom of this, figure out, is that real? Or can they actually do it? If they can, how the heck do they do it? And then what of that can I apply to my own life? So since then, it's been a pursuit. It's been a love, and it's just like a way of life, man. It's just like the way that I see it is we have this incredible planet. Our body is such incredible technology, within the human body. It's such incredible technology. And, we're not honoring our bodies, I don't think, and we're not realizing how much power we have. And I think that when the podcast that I had today, we touched on it a little bit, and it's literally just the idea of, getting into the body. That's what we're not doing. So the guest that I had on talked about breathing, and you can do these interesting things through breath or yoga. You're getting into the body, and you're starting to recognize how beautiful, special this like multidimensional temple is. But we're so conditioned to be outside the body, so we're not even recognizing like this magic that we have. And that's what those practices are doing, are getting you in the body. So at a young age, through sport and through meditation and through martial arts, I was in the body. And so I think it was the body's intelligence kind of nudging me, It's like, you are fine. No matter what can happen, like life can get stressful. It can be challenging. You can fail, you can get frustrated and pissed off like everybody else, but ultimately you're fine. You know what I mean? You're going to be fine. And let's explore this. Let's explore what excites you. Let's explore your own limits. Let's explore the planet. And so I've just kind of been doing that quite a bit.
So inspiring, Matt. So inspiring, and making a lot of sense about getting into our bodies, getting to really experience this simulation through the avatar kind of thing. Now, tell us a little bit about Zen Athlete. I was just putting it up on the screen there while you were talking. And that's one of the websites of yours that I was kind of like having a look at before the LiveCast started. So you've got like mattbelair.com. You've also got Zen Athlete. And I see like just in your journeys, there's a lot of sport stuff there. You're obviously doing a lot of coaching with athletes as well, are you?
Yeah, I was. I go back and forth because the thing with me is I travel, and then I'll work with people here and there. But I have in the past worked a lot with athletes. I'm working with 1 or 2 right now, and a lot of lots of people are using Zen Athlete, and they're writing me and stuff like that. So there's an online program as well that people can go through. So with that, what it started when I went to Whistler, and people were snowboarding, and they didn't know how to quiet their mind. They didn't know about internal dialogue. They didn't know how to visualize their tricks. And this is just stuff that I took for granted, snowboarding. And so I kept learning and sharing this and learning and sharing it. And then I was like, I think this needs to be for all athletes. And basically the book is a compilation of all the best sports psychology and mental training techniques that I've learned that actually work. So it's tools and processes and challenges. It's like when I read a book, I want to, if it says learn to meditate, I better know how to meditate at the end to get the result. If it's like how to get strong legs, it's about how to organize my checkbook, whatever. It better tell me how. And so my book is kind of designed like that. But the thing about it is, like, it could be Zen life, it could be Zen business, because the idea is that, one of the athletes that I had is a freestyle motocross rider, and he called me. He's like, hey, I was coaching a friend of his, and he's like, I heard you're good. I fell on a front flip on my motorcycle. I want to land a front flip and some other variations. So we have a coaching call, and I say, hey man, your mental game's good. You don't have to read my book, but you should, just to kind of get more familiar. You don't have to do any of the things. All you actually have to do is visualize that trick every single day until you can land it. It's going to take you about 2 weeks. 3 weeks later, he lands the front flip. 2 or 3 weeks after that, he lands the world's first front flip heel clicker on a motorcycle. I think 3 weeks after that, he lands the world's first front flip Superman on a motorcycle, and didn't practice it once. Just went out there and stuck it. And So if you take the necessity, these guys with extreme sports, there's a necessity to master the mental game, to have a full commitment to all of your mental capacities and awareness. If you can take that necessity into everyday life, into business, into your life, then you're unstoppable. So the Shaolin monks that could break the stone with 2 fingers and the big ones over his head, when I interviewed him and asked him how he did it, essentially it was years of hard Qigong, conditioning the fingers, and soft Qigong, basically, meditation and moving the energy. That's it. Years of it. So what if, self-mastery was incredibly simple, but it had to be done repetitively? What if you chose a vision, and it's not a front flip heel clicker, it's not a triple backflip on your snowboard, it's not this. You apply all those principles to your vision, you're gonna do it, and you have a life to create it. The thing is, we don't give ourselves the vision. We don't set that time to think, and that's why I share. There's a meditation I have called the Heart Journey, and this came out of nowhere for a friend of mine. I was just trying to help him. He's so analytical, he couldn't figure out what he wanted in life, and I just did this meditation. When I was done, I was like, that's a unique meditation. I've never experienced anything like that, and it's kind of like the first thing that kind of came through. And basically, I know hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, visualization, meditation, it's all the same thing. Relax the mind, take it through a guided experience. That's it. So I hypnotized him into his heart, asked him a series of questions, and what came through was like an aligned vision. So this is the best and most powerful technique I've ever seen. I've done it with really rich people. I've done it with people with nothing, and it's the same thing. People want to contribute. They want to grow in things and learn what they're about. They want to be around good people, and that's what we want in our life. And that's what it gets narrowed down. And what happens is all that nonsense begins to fall away, and you really just put to the forefront what's important. So you figure out that vision, you apply the techniques like the Shaolin monk and these principles over 5 years of time, then now you're creating and designing your life. Make sense?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So we're really kind of talking like visualizing and almost like we're setting our intent on the, through the visual process. Is it something like that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, visualization is one part of it. There's like 9 components, which I actually don't even remember right now. But it's like, belief, simulation, fitness and nutrition. Zen is the center point, doing it all through perspective, hypnosis. So everything's in there as far as the techniques. And so when you use them all together, then it's like this energetic, co-creative force that you're using. And the reason why I did Zen Athlete is because this is something that you can teach the kids. And my goal is to popularize the mental game of sport, making it normal that all kids in youth organizations and schools around the world learn the basics of the mental game as a part of their teaching. And even more than that, bringing the philosophy of martial arts into all sports. So using sport as a catalyst to develop your mind, your body, and your spirit. Because it's not about being the best. It's not even about winning. It's about being your best. It's about your progression. And that's what I love about skateboarding and martial arts and extreme sports. It's supportive, you know what I mean? Let's compete in a fun way, right? Not because I'm better than you and that camaraderie. Sport's a really beautiful thing. And I think we've really done culturally a really crap job on what it can do to inspire people, especially on the main stage. The UFC is an example of, they want the gladiator, but not like this disrespect of where martial arts came from. So, you can teach a kid a basketball shot. Hey, little Tommy, you can take a shot, take 3 deep breaths and clear your mind. So that's a fundamental shift in consciousness right there. Someone who can clear the mind and someone who cannot. Visualize the shot going in. You create your reality. You miss the shot. What's the most powerful and positive perspective you can have? So your perspective changes everything. So those are 3 fundamental shifts in consciousness that you can seed to a kid right away. And with that principle, you navigate life with a more empowering toolbox, and they won't even know they're learning it. If you tell them to meditate so they're better at sport, they're going to be inspired to do that. If you tell them to just sit down, they're probably not going to do it. So that's the goal there. But if you have a business or it can be Zen life, it's the best, personal development, biohack, whatever you want to call it, that I've come across, and I read a lot of it.
Dude, we are so in sync. I mean, I can't believe what you just brought up, because just before the live cast I was talking to my son. He's 11, and as I mentioned to you, we where we are now, we're out in the Aussie outback for a week, and tonight we're going to go on the UFO highway, and my son was saying, "Dad, do you think we'll really see a UFO?" And I said to him, "Well, if you really want to, we probably will." And he's just looked at me and gone, "Whoa, okay, I get that. Yeah, I want to." And now you've just brought up this stuff with the kids in shifting their consciousness, visualization. That's so interesting, man. So very interesting.
Yeah, it's like really simple concepts, because in extreme sports, it's very immediate, right? If you don't believe you're going to land the backflip, you probably shouldn't go ahead and do it, right? So if we're setting the intention for what we want to create, but then letting it go and not being attached to it, right? Just like, yes, I'm intending this. Oh, it didn't happen. That's fine. That's totally fine, right? I can intend again. I can try again. I can go again, and it's okay. And so with that perspective, you're golden, and you're empowering. We're always creating. We're either creating on purpose or on default, but we're creating, right? And so that's bringing the consciousness back in, but doing it from the most empowering, positive perspective that we can hold at that time with whatever we're experiencing, because life is just continuous challenge, continuous problem solving, continuous experience. And so when we get clear on the things that we want to experience and we want to create, like, what would you create if you dedicated 10 hours a week for 10 years to anything? You're going to do it. Wow. I want to make $1,000 a month passively. Okay. There's your idea, 10 hours a week for 10 years. I guarantee you're going to solve that, but we don't think like that. We think instant. And I was in that boat too. And I look at it, I like, what is instant manifestation? Like, I want it. And I've done all those things. And that the closest thing I can get to that is visualization, but it's more of a game and a process. And it goes into like, really, simple concepts, because this is, I think, a spiritual game, a spiritual simulation, and to apply these, these metaphysical 5D ascension, things like that, it's kindness and purpose. And whatever you give to yourself, whatever you love to do, whoever you are, is exploring that, and not killing it within yourself. This is your game to play, and honor that game, honor yourself. And, we're not doing that, and we're not connecting to the others. You want to serve, like, just say hello to somebody who is getting coffee. Be kind to people. Make a difference how you can. You don't have to go full Mother Teresa. Just be present, be kind, get their name. That's it. Simple things. But if everybody did this and was kind of mindful, it would shift our communities and it would shift our world, because what's happening is this extreme isolation. Heads down, don't look at anyone. But the opposite of just being aware, being conscious, being kind, helping when you can, and and doing things that fulfill you, and then you're showing people the example of that.
This is so empowering. I mean, I like how you're touching on the fact that we're creating our lives moment to moment, whether we're aware of it or not, whether we're being intentional about it or not. I think a lot of times we fall into the trap of just focusing on the part about creating our lives intentionally, but we're not really aware or speak about the fact that even if we're not doing it awarely or intentionally, we're still creating the negative side of it. And that was really interesting, something that I just picked up on when you were talking then. That's the first time I've heard it put in that actual way, Matt.
Right on. Yeah. Well, it's true, right? And I think that life is I've really wanted to pursue enlightenment. I read a lot of books on enlightenment, Zen enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, awakening, ascension. I'm gonna go try it. I don't care if someone's like, okay, you do like 4 push-ups and then you do 3 squats and then you grab a piece of grass and you twirl it and you say hello to the sun and you do. Even if it's ridiculous, I'm going to give it a shot just to see what happens. And so in my experimentation of figuring out what enlightenment is, things like that, it's broken down to 2 elements for me. And one of them is 100% responsibility for self. Anything that's in your reality or that has ever happened to you, just take responsibility for it, because otherwise you're going to be a victim. And from that consciousness, you can't change anything. You got to be a creator consciousness. So then you can hold it like, okay, cool. I just broke my leg snowboarding. That sucks. What am I going to do with that now? What's the most powerful and positive perspective I can have with that? So you're owning all of your experiences, good and bad, even if they're hard. And then the second thing is to think about, what can I give? How can I help? And that was one of the things too. When I noticed a lot of people on the podcast, they'll go, I had an awakening here, I had an awakening here, I had an awakening here. I didn't have an awakening. I was always the same way, and I don't know what that means. But the biggest element that I can say to that is I've never thought to myself, what can I go get from somebody? I've always thought about how can I help? I've always thought, how can I help? And that for me is like the difference. People they go and do acquire because we're in a competitive, dangerous environment. Well, that's what they try to impose, right? Out there is dangerous. Go get the money. If you don't get the money, you're not going to get any food. You got to be indoors, right? You got to get some because that guy will get more than you. And I never had that thought. It was just like, what can I give? How can I help? There's so much of an issue here. How do I empower myself so I can give more? That's what an enlightened person is to me. And the best part about that, I would say, like the third element is you doing the things that you love empowers the community in the world the most. And it's a vibrational game, not a physical, you got to go solve world hunger type of deal. It's you being yourself. And so if you're in the forest, I always use this as an analogy as a beaver. So if a beaver is in the forest and he's trying to be a bird, he's going to suck at being a bird, and all the stuff he's supposed to do is not going to get done, and he's going to hate life, right? But when he remembers he's a beaver and he starts doing beaver things, he's chopping down the trees, he creates the dam, and then all the things that live off the dam are now thriving, and then the forest is happening naturally, and they're like, thank you for being you. And that's what it's like when you connect with who you are and what you want to do. That's you being you, and your life is great, and that's really what it comes down to. A lot of people, when people say they, or it's I can't, they are like this or anything outside, just say I, because you affect your reality. You cannot affect anyone else's. Just do the best to affect your reality. Focus all that energy inward. What is your dream life? What is your paradise on earth? And you get a lifetime to create that. And in doing that, you serve the entire community in the entire world. And you'll have opportunities to do more. If you want to help, an opportunity will come. Say, hey, would you like to help with this? You can say yes, participate. But we get stuck, I feel like, in this mind game, and we're not doing anything. We're not talking to our neighbors. We're not empowering ourselves. We're giving a lot of energy away, and we get confused. It's a very confusing game out there with all the stuff going on around consciousness, enlightenment, ascension, woke, all this stuff. It's being kind to yourself and others, being compassionate to yourself and others. Being of service to others, not what can I get, but what can I give? How can I serve? Who am I really? And when you're lit up and you're happy and you're stoked on life, that's the gift, right? Like my sister was talking the other day, and she's just like, I see so many people get so much joy out of me being ridiculous. She's a beautiful lady, and she'll just be so awkward and ridiculous, but you see people in the city and they just think it's weird, but then it gives them permission to be a little bit weird, to step out of that shell or whatever, this idea of this, what they have, rather than having fun and enjoying life, enjoying existence. I think that we're being sold that it needs to be serious and it's dangerous, and there's dangerous elements, or you can have the perspective of this is fun and this is amazing and we're blessed, and you can have the power to overcome all of the challenges you'll face, and you'll get some. That's life. And so it's just navigating the same reality, just with a different perspective.
There sure is a lot of power to being the example, and I think that's where social media is so special. Sometimes we hear a lot of negativity about social media, and of course there's positives and negatives to everything. But what I find so fascinating about social media is that, for instance, someone like yourself, you're walking your path, you're being that example by just being yourself, and everybody can see that. And I don't think there's many things that are more inspiring or empowering for us than actually seeing that for ourselves.
Yeah. It's doing it for yourself ultimately, right? All these choices are for you. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. You affect your reality. I just spent 2 weeks with a native elder of the Mi'kmaq Nation, and his lineage goes back like 20,000 years or something. He was on my podcast 3 times. Check it out. His name's David Lone Bear Senepass. I've met a lot of people, and I'm hunting down the superheroes, and I've never met anyone like him. Just an extraordinary human being. Can't remember where the heck I was going with that. But he taught me a lot of different things. I'll just say that one of them was just talking about being kind, compassionate, and happy, and it's a spiritual vibration. And so, this is where I was going to go with it. God, he's like, I was like, well, what? I was like, what are your thoughts on God? Right, his upbringing and everything's totally different. He's like, you're God. He's like, you're all God. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he's just like, well, God would be somebody that can affect and change reality. God could affect reality. So, of course, through my decisions, my choices, my perspectives, I affect my reality. So in that sense, I am definitely God. I am in that way. And all of us have that. And when we bring that power in and we communicate, and again, with the body, we communicate with the body, we really get in where we have the trees and the sun and all of this information at our fingertips by tuning in. And so you're the only one that can affect your reality. No one outside you can do it. And so we start bringing the power back in and then designing our lives and thinking about it over a 2-year span, 5-year span, 10-year span. Now you're giving yourself some space. It doesn't have to be figured out overnight.
I think patience is the key, 100%. I was watching a clip of a Japanese businessman talking about a business that he started and just saying, look, compared to the West, we look at our businesses like our children. When your business is 1, 2, or 3 years old, like they can barely walk, let alone, do anything else. So it's all about putting in. You're not going to try to take something back out of like a toddler. And just when you were just talking about that, I was thinking about that myself. And of course, Tom Campbell talks about modifying future probabilities, and just hearing you sharing this with this gentleman, saying that we're all like gods because we can change our reality. It's just so interesting how there's so many different ways of saying the same thing, and it kind of always comes back to the same thing, doesn't it?
It all comes back to the exact same thing. Yeah, 100%. And I like that. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. It's over a couple of years. It's such a good way to put it. Like for the podcast, it's a good one for me. Like I think I did episode 156, 157 the other day. And it's been like 3 years doing it, and the whole time I've made like pretty much $0, a couple bucks here and there. But now, I never did it with the intention to make money. Like I'm gonna make money through a podcast. That was never the idea. It was like, these people are amazing, and I want to share their stories. The people can learn a lot from these people. That was my intention. It still is. But now I've realized, I'm like, whoa! Once this thing turns on, it's on. Yes, and now I can see it. I'm like, heck yes. Then it's on, and I couldn't equate that at the time. I had no idea how a podcast would make money. Right? I didn't even think it was possible. I just did it because I wanted to do it. And now I'm like, oh, when this sucker turns on, it's on, and I'm good. And right, but that's three years, of doing something because I wanted to do it, and I felt like it helped, right? But it's like your own. What's that word when you got to go through like the crucible or whatever? It's your own thing, man. It's not easy, and you just keep putting it in. But that's it. It's not, the secrets to success in life are simple, but they're really hard to execute. And what it comes down, all this stuff I like to simply ask. And so, what is the meaning of life? What is the point of all this? How can we be happy? And the answers are really simple. The meaning is like whatever you give it. The purpose is whatever you make it. And and I think that ultimately we're here to have fun, and we're to enjoy this experience and do it out of love and fit. Like that connection with spirit is like earned. You get to earn it, and just know that you're way more powerful than you possibly know. You couldn't even know how powerful you are. I've been to like states of consciousness where it shatters everything you think about anything, but that you're a part of that higher source. It's like the analogy that I come up with a lot of time is like you're a dolphin that believes you're a goldfish. You didn't even know that you can jump out of the water and explore all these lands, and who knows what's going on in the water, but that you can communicate with people, your species telepathically. And I think that's what's happening on the planet. We're waking up to the realization of how powerful we are, and we do this through community. We do this through going through our own crap. We do this through being kind on a daily basis, and we earn our own self-mastery. I
love how you keep going back to this thing about kindness. You know, I think more of us need to be talking about kindness, love. You know, I think you've said it maybe 4 or 5 times already, you know, during this live cast, that you know, being kind to other people, finding the thing within you to be doing that in serving people in the simplest ways. You know, the little things are the big things.
Yeah, 100%, man. It is simple. You know, I could go on peak performance all day and flow state, and you know, have challenge with like the terms of like biohacking and stuff like that. And it's like, what's the point? What's the point, man? You know, like, yes, like I love high performance and I do that, but there's a deeper resonance. If you want to be a high performer, you want your mind to work. How do you want your mind to work? You want peace. You really want inner peace. That's the ultimate, right? Any athlete that I work with, you know, it's like, you know, it's like stress hormones. So you're going to miss the game-winning, or you're going to take the game-winning shot. We're talking to LeBron James, going to make the game-winning shot. Now, if his identity's on the line, like his self-worth, he's going to have stress hormones going through. But if he doesn't really care, if he wants to make it, he's intending to make it. But if he's okay with missing it, he's way more likely to make it, because he's not, his self-worth isn't on the line. It's like, oh man, I missed. We lost the championship. That sucks. You're going to be upset about it. But like, you know what? Why don't we get that team and invite them over for a barbecue a week later, see what we could do in the youth community, get together, use sport for good. That would make them feel fulfilled, because that actually means something. You know, not that it doesn't mean, like, you know, you're not going to be fully fulfilled if you don't add your own meaning and your own service in a way to contribute, you know, like in any way. That's really where it comes from. And so, you know, we can look at sport and like how, you know, internal dialogue, right? That's a part of it. What do you say to yourself? People don't monitor that. It's an important thing. How you visualize, that skill is very important, very useful. And ultimately, you use them to understand what you're saying to yourself. You know, am I being kind to myself? Because if you're not being kind to yourself, you can't be kind to others. And so you're basically learning to do this internally. It's this internal mastery, so you can share that with someone else, because people are suffering and this planet does need a lot of help, and we need more kind people. And I just saw a live talk with the Dalai Lama, and that's all he talks about. You know, all we're talking about is how we can get, how we can acquire, and how we can master, and how we can even do better and work even harder and get more and more stuff. You know, we need less stuff, man. We need to be more friggin' human. We need to say hi to our neighbors. We need to go out of our way to be nice to people. We need to be compassionate to ourselves. That's what we need. You know, because we're going to go through life. And then as you start to connect more and more with yourself, you're going to start to light up and unfold. And that's what enlightenment is. You're holding more light, right? Light and dark. It's like density. So you know, light is happiness, joy, you know, laughter, encouragement, excitement, enthusiasm. Those are all light. They feel light, right? And anxiety, depression, right? Fear. Those are dense. Those, you know, people are stuck in that. And so if you want to help people, get yourself into the lighter states, the lighter vibration, and people will come to you. It's not about fixing them. Not, you know, it's like one of the things I'll kind of share is like, it's like the whole world is out of shape, okay? Mentally, right? But you just imagine, like, physically, everyone on the planet is 400 pounds and they have diabetes. You want to help them? Get in shape. Just be the person who is in shape and showing an example. That's it. That's what you can do. That's as much as you can help. And if you want to write a book and do a course about it, great, go do that. But that's the best thing that you can do. So finding that peace and resonating that peace on a daily basis, because it's easy to say, but it's hard when somebody cuts me off in traffic and almost hits me with a huge truck. You know what I mean? It's hard then, right? That's, you know, and yeah, the last point that I'll make that I kind of ranted there was just like, you know, I see this even a lot in the spiritual community too. People are great at being spiritual and conscious unless somebody challenges them. You know, you're not your master of spirituality when someone's like, hey, I love you, you're amazing. You're tested when someone says, you suck, you're a loser, I am totally against everything you're doing. How do you act? That's the it's, you know, it's all great. It's kind of like it, you know, I equate it to fighting. It's all super great in the gym and here, but somebody punches you really in the face really hard. Now you figure out what you're made of, because now nothing's perfect now. You know what I mean? It's like, oh crap, right? It's now different, and that's what we need to apply. And it'll hurt. You'll feel it. I feel it, you know, when it happens, and I just alchemize it and do my best. And if I noticed, like in the past where I didn't do so great, I'm like, okay, I didn't do so great. Next time, maybe I can improve that reaction that I did.
I'm loving this, bro. This is really, really good. So like the foundation of everything that you're talking about here from your heart right now is really just connecting with other people, being kind in those moments where we're being tested by what's going on, the way that we choose to handle that, not so much during the times where things are easy, but during the times where things are really tough. If we can put our best foot forward and be kind in those difficult moments, in those real testing moments, that's kind of like the real deal, isn't it? That everything else is built on top of.
Yeah, it's how are you navigating life and being a human? How kind can you be all of the time? How really, like, there's skills and there's techniques for sure. So, you want to be enlightened? Okay, cool. Well, that's it. Take 100% responsibility for yourself. Realize that you create your reality, figure out who you are, and think about how you can help. But then actually do it. And you do it over a day, and then a week, and then a month, and then 6 months, and then a year. And you make that your priority. That's the thing, is people aren't committed to making it the priority, right? When you're out in public and you're doing your thing, do your best to be kind, and be kind to yourself. That's the hardest one. Most people, if you took their dialogue with what they've said to themselves and you said that to another human, they'd probably beat you up. If you can do that one, and you can learn and cultivate that skill of awareness and mindfulness and biohacking and ascension and all that, all it is learning to quiet your mind. And you can do that. You can learn that in a week. Meditate, in the book, I make everything so simple. So I have a meditation hack. Okay, you want to learn how to meditate? This is what you do. 1 minute, day 1. 2 minutes, day 2. 3 minutes, day 3. 4 minutes, day 4. 5 minutes, day 5. Day 6, 6 minutes. Continue with 10 days. 10 minutes, you're actually doing it. You get stuck in the mind. But after 10 days, you're going to realize, oh, okay, I get it. And it's not hard, right? You're just going to learn to watch your thoughts. You're like, whoa, that's interesting. And so then you're actually taking action. And so, you want to design your life, sit down. You can use the heart journey as a guide. It's like, but write down and journal. What do I like to do? What are some things I like to do? I'm continuously designing my life because things change all the time. So I'm moving with it. I'm moving with my joy. I'm moving with the opportunities. I'm listening to myself. And I have faith, and that's how you build faith with nature and the universe, and have a connection with God or spirit. I think a lot of people in the world have lost the spiritual connection because of religious programming. Religion. I think that anyone who's religious that's great. Be that. But there's a lot of people who were in religion and were really confused, and they kind of like, no, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in any of this because of the experience they had. Because there are some experiences in the church that can be intense and not maybe all inclusive. Let's just say that. So now we've just X'd out this spiritual force, this connection with like you and nature. It's like you're a bear in the forest, but you don't believe in anything anymore. You don't believe in the power of the river and the sun, and you shut it out because somebody told you a story. Now you don't know how to connect with it. Well, God is within you. That's where it is. It's where everybody says, any religious book that's any good will tell you that. And that's where you find it. And you find that stillness. But when you learn to connect with it, that force, that it's always with you, and it is in everything. It's everywhere in every single thing, and it's on your side. And that's a really powerful piece of cultivation. But there's so much mysticism. Do I go Christian, or do I go Muslim, or do I go Buddhist, or do I go this thing, or do I go that thing? How do I do it? How do I get that? What are the consequences if I mess it up? There's so much crap that we are dealing with. And for me, being spiritual, being a spiritual master, being a religious master, is being kind to yourself, being kind to others in action, not in thought, in action indeed. Even if you are a Christian and this is a Muslim and you believe the exact same thing, you can be kind to them. You don't even have to believe the same thing, just be kind. They're having their own life experience. You let them. I don't care what somebody is. If you want to be religious as you want. Just be kind. Also, but cultivate your connection. If that helps you create a connection with God and nature and your community, great, do that. That's your way, right? And so a lot of people, like, the church isn't what it used to be, so now people are just going around, but they're not even thinking about create a connection with themselves and God and spirit, and spirit, whatever you want to call it, nature. And so when you do cultivate that through meditation, through getting out into the forest with yourself, going in, with reading good quality spiritual texts and exploring that idea, that's the ultimate connection, and that's what we're looking for. And that's where you find peace, that's where you find connection, that's where you find faith, and that's when you really step into the, the realization that you are a creator. You know it, and you have this like force that is what's beating the bird's heart right now. What's going to keep me awake when I see what's building all of life? What is that force? We can connect to that force, that energy. And we're always connected to it, but we're not paying attention or giving it any kind of value. It's like, don't worry about the sun. It doesn't do anything. Don't worry about nature and all of life. Like, that stuff's not important. What's important is you got to get to work at 9 a.m. and take life seriously and make sure you got some little gold stacked up here and here and here and here and make everything serious and make sure that guy doesn't steal your shit. And now you're good. It's so, what about just going out into nature, sitting with a little cabin on a beach for like 10 years and just connecting with the ocean and living simply and being a human and saying hi to everybody on the beach and enjoying your life and being in peace, or anything in between. Those are two pretty polars, but you get the point.
It's all about like practical reality, isn't it? Moment to moment, making those decisions like in real time, living it, breathing it, instead of getting lost in the theory and other people's opinions and centralized belief systems that it's so easy to get lost in that track. I love what you're saying, because you're putting things so simply so anyone can understand it, as a living, breathing thing, acceptance of other people, and where they're at in their journey, not judging them, coming from the heart. This is all stuff that when we hear it, it's like music to our ears. Something deep down resonates so much with it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. All that stuff is. I think that what's going on is, I've read so many books. I've spent thousands of dollars on courses. I've done like personal development, spirituality, channeling, whatever I could do to find this, because I wanted to be enlightened. I wanted to know what that state. I wanted a higher state of consciousness. Not realizing I had it the whole time, and not realizing how friggin' simple it was. It's simple, but so hard to friggin' do. It's so hard to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and we know it. And it's just literally just being present, being kind. And what happens? What you're talking about is like, you got Zen Athlete and 1,000 other books over here, and you got the Dalai Lama and all these different things. You got all these religions and things, and you're going out to seek. Now it's great. Bring it in Buddhism. They call it mental nutriments. And as far as if I was going to pick a philosophy, I'd go with Buddhism because it's practical. And they give you the 4 precepts, and it all makes perfect sense, right? And you get to go through the life to kind of uncover this. But we get lost, and then we battle rather than just letting the information in and being present with ourselves. Just being literally present with ourselves as we go through, and just watching the mind when it just goes on turbo, like so nuts, And so how much of the day are you spending in joy? Even if you can get 30 minutes of happiness, what's that thing every day? People are spending whole years, decades unhappy. They get like a week of happiness. Like, what makes you happy? Where did this come from where it was serious and everything is stressful? Now, I know life can be serious, and I know that you got to pay bills and stuff, but what about just limiting that stuff? What about getting really to the core? How can you bring it in as well? Because it is simple. It's very, very simple, but really hard to do.
Are we living in a simulation, Matt?
So I'll just give you my thoughts on that. I don't know. So with anything, take anything I say with a grain of salt, because I'm always learning, and then somebody will just shatter my reality, or I'll have an experience and be like, wait, I didn't know anything. And that's one of the other things too. It's just like, I know how little I know. And the other really important thing is experience. That's all we really know, right? You can read someone's books, you can talk about it, but I know what it's like to be on Mount Everest. I even had an argument with a guy on Reddit. I posted something, he was being a total knob, and then then I saw him post about Everest, and I was like, bro, I actually hiked Everest. Are you gonna tell me what Everest is like too? And he did. And then he talked some smack after that. People are ridiculous, you know. But you go, I was like, what? So I can't even remember what it was about, but I remember that comment. But go experience your life. You honor what you're experiencing. That's what you know. You know what I mean? What you know is your experience. So go get the experiences that you find valuable, that you find exciting. You know, go get those. You know, learn things that excite you. Those are your experiences. That's what you know. You know that. All the other stuff you don't know. So simulation, again, I don't know what I know about that, but I do know some things. I haven't, actually, I'll tell you a story I haven't told anyone yet. And I'm going to do a separate, I've been meaning to do a video on it. Okay, so it's a good question. I've been in states of meditation where it's like my consciousness shifts into something else. It's so beyond this, and when it comes back into this consciousness, I know that something is like, this isn't the real thing. So like when I'm out there, it's like oneness. I'm like, whoa, this is more real than here. Now, I've interviewed Tom Campbell, you know Tom Campbell's work, and he is saying that the science, and a lot of people are saying that the science is showing that we are in a simulation. I was 2 weeks with David Lowenbear Senepass, who is the native elder of the Mi'kmaq Nation. He is also a scientist. He is a mathematician, and he shared with me that we are in a simulation also. So what does that mean? Okay, so we're in a simulation, then what is the point? If we're in a simulation, what the heck is the point? And what David shared with me is just to have fun. And he goes, think about it. I was like, okay, I was asking him all these questions. He told me Atlantis on my podcast. He goes, Atlantis wasn't, like we went out there, man. He goes, Atlantis wasn't a continent. It was a ship. And there were like 7 other ships. And apparently in his culture, they know all the names of this stuff. Like it's a whole nother
wow.
thing. Yeah, so we went for it, you know. But when he came back into into like the important stuff, you know, I was like, okay, humans just want to grow, and they want to explore, and they want to have fun, and they want to be free. Like, how do we do that? And he goes, TEAS. It's like he speaks in acronyms, and TEAS is time, earth, air, and space. And I was like, oh, that's okay. He's like, we have all that. And he's like, yes. And then I was like, okay, well, what the heck is the point of this then? He goes, to have fun. You guys are just messing it up so bad. And so if this is a simulation and we're living in it, what is the point? Is it, you know, you're going to die, right? You know you're going to die. So you got everything in the middle. You can make it super serious or you can make it fun. And as Alan Watts will talk about, you can dance through life. You can dance through all of this growth. And just think about, like, you know, I think there's somewhere between 20 and 30. That's why I really like talking to older people, 40, 50, 60, because they've done some living. But 0 to 10 years old, you don't know what's going on. 10 to 20, you think you know what's going on, but you still don't know what's going on. You're just trying to probably, if you're a boy, kiss a girl, figure out all that stuff, not get beat up in high school, all that kind of stuff, right? 20 to 30, the world tells you need to be an adult and you got to get a Mercedes and all the girls, because then you're cool, right? Then you stack up your coin, you got a Mercedes with some spinners on there, you're a baller, life is great. A lot of people spend 20 to 30 in educating themselves and, you know, getting that education, and then they get that job. Yes, we got the job, and then they got the security. 30 to 40, they go through that and they're working the job, you know, or they're getting that money, or whatever the case they're doing. Then 40 to 50, another decade goes, and then something around there, they might be like, ooh, like, what the heck am I doing? You know, what am I doing? And so if we can think of decades of time, how do we go from 0 to 10, we don't know anything. 10 to 20, we definitely don't know what's going on. Yeah, right? We're still figuring it out. 20 to 30, we get an education. By the time that we receive that education, it's outdated by years and years and years already, because we can learn so quickly now. So what makes you think that you're still not a dumbass between 30 and 40 and 40 and 50? I know that. I know that I don't know anything at all. There's way too much. But what I do know is my experiences. I know that. I know what I can experience, and I know what I've gone through. I know what I've seen. And so if I can dance through these things, you know what I mean, and we just continue to learn in the spirit of playful growth and kindness and joy and listening to ourselves, that's going to be a powerful life experience in a simulation, right? In a spacesuit, like when I go into that deep set of meditation, I can't touch anything. I can't taste anything. I can't hold somebody. I can't go feel cold water. We have the most incredible planet. Just look at a butterfly, man. Like, oh my, like, just look at a kid in their awe of everything. We should be in awe. This is incredible. But somehow we've been hypnotized out of that into something else that is not even real, to forget this thing that's right in front of us, the magic, and because it's become stressful, because it became serious, because someone's going to come get you. No one's going to get you. And if they do, well, if somebody horribly murders me, darn, that sucks. What am I going to do about it? Right? I'll deal with it if it happens. Like, that would suck, though. I can't go and live my life like that, though. It can be logical. You might not want to go to the wrong part of town and be a dummy about it, but, So anyway, so I've had reality crack on me a few times, and this happened to me at Envision. I haven't shared the story yet. And I think the girl was Australian too. So I'm going to a Vision Festival in Costa Rica, and I get off the plane. I'm getting on the bus to go in. I meet these two people, Ben and his girlfriend. I can't remember her name, but she was tall and beautiful and really unique looking and had like awesome tattoos. And we made friends. And I don't see him until 2 days into the festival. I see him 2 days in the festival, and he's playing a flute. And I was like, yo, Ben, how's it going, man? He's like 6'2", he's a great guy. And he's like, looks at me dead serious right in the eyes and goes, the universe gifted me this flute. And when I started playing it, I got taken to a cave with 9 beings that started to download galactic knowledge to me. And I was like, what? And I've had weird experiences in my life, man. And like the things that I've done, like that's a Friday night conversation between me and some people. So I'm like, oh my God. And so I started asking him some questions, and you could see in his eyes how he was trying to figure out what had just happened to him and then relay it to me. He was like processing what would happen to bring it out to share. And he's like, I was like, well, like what? I was like, well, what's the deal with the flute? He goes, the flute is a communication device. They said they've been here long before us, and they're going to be here long after us. But they don't want to just talk to anybody. So this is actually a communication. David Lone Bear makes flutes and is a native elder. I know the native elder of the Zuni Nation, and they talk about the star people of the star nations. The 2 native elders, they know this. It's not in their culture. It's like obviously, like, we know this. It's a big duh. Like, it's like you can't come and like we know it's documented. They know it. So, and I was like, oh, and he has his native flute. So I text David. I was like, hey, I know what flutes are for now. Please make me one. so that was after. So he tells me a little bit more about the experience. I was like, whoa. I was like, well, man, next time, like, see if you can take me with you. That sounds nuts. So I was like, that's wild. So the next day, I go into a meditative state, and I say, okay, I want an experience with God or ETs in a way that I know that it's undeniable. And I had a little bit of mushrooms left, and I had a little bit of MDMA left, and I take them both. Not a lot. I have taken a lot of mushrooms in my life. This was not one of those times. I would say maybe half a gram, nothing. And like very minimal, but I was like, I'm just going to use it. So I'll preface that so you can say it was the drugs if you want, because we'll give you that gateway. So I do that, and I actually hold a walking meditation for like 5 minutes. It was pretty epic. I really like when so I hold it, and I say, I want an experience with God and ETs in a way that I know it is undeniable for myself. And I held that, and I did a walking meditation, kind of like Dr. Joe style. Dr. Joe Dispenza, if you guys know his work or whatever. I go get, I like to get face painted, and so I got some glitter, and then I'm walking out to go dance, because I just let it go, right? Who knows what's going to happen? I think I'm going to go dancing, right? Dance my butt off to some great music. And there's this girl painting faces. Or she has this paint in front of her, and I know she's painting faces. So I sit down with her, and I was like, hey, would you mind hooking up some white face paint? She's like, no, we'll do a trade. I was like, sure. So I give her some like these little nuts. They had like these, I don't know, cacao nuts or something that everyone would buy. They're delicious. Give her some of those. She paints my face. I was like, hey, do you want to, like, I call them a cosmic blessing or whatever, because I always look like a wizard, and I got a hood on, and I look nuts. And so I have a tuning fork, which is near me. But basically, you whack the tuning fork, and you put it, and it vibrates at a frequency to put you in harmony. And I teach people basically this, when I do this thing, I was like, okay, what do you want in your life? The reason why, and I get them to imagine that, and I was like, the reason why people don't bring it into reality is because there's no willpower. So if you imagine, you're like, okay, I desire this universe, right? And then we're in an electrical universe, so we point, it's like, okay, I want the perfect job, and so the universe goes, okay, let's measure that. That's 0.02 hertz. Great, thank you. But what if through your affirmation or your intention, you willed it like, and this is from the Scientific Affirmations from Yogananda, so it's a really great book, super small. And he's like, what if your kid was under a car, screaming and dying? Would you worry about how much that car weighed, or would you just sit with every fiber and molecule and muscle of your being to move that thing? Everything you had and are would move that car, right? So what if you took that willpower into your affirmations? So then you do that, and the universe goes, oh, wow, that's a 500.2 hertz on the frequency scale, and now you're matching that vibration at a high scale. So I teach them that, and then I put the thing on their head as they imagine. I'm like, will it in, like just do your best to will it in, and I do the third eye and the head and back and go like that, and I shoot some chi at them and all that kind of good stuff that I learned over my own little way of doing it. And so she goes, so we do that, and then as soon as she's done, she goes into a meditative state, and I was like, cool. Usually it takes them about 30 seconds to a minute to pop out anyways. So she goes into a meditative state, so I go into a meditative state. The second I start to meditate, I get launched. Like, I start going into deep meditation. They're like, whoa. I come out, she's still meditating. I close my eyes to go back in. Boom, I'm launched again. I'm like, holy crap, I'm going really deep. Come back out, and it's been like 10 minutes now. I keep going in and out, and it's like, well, I got to come back because, like, maybe this girl's waiting for me to, like, say bye or whatever, right? And now I'm stuck. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to hold her hands. And if I hold her hands, then she can just give me, like, a little squeeze, and, I'll pop out. So, great. Hold her hands. We're sitting there meditating together, and then I just get launched, man. The deepest meditation I've ever had. I've had a couple experiences similar and very deep, but this by far was the deepest meditation I've ever had. And probably 10, 20 minutes goes by, and I'm like gone. And so I hear some footsteps coming, and I have this like, I felt the hand squeeze first. I felt like a little hand touch. So I open my eyes. When I open my eyes, I'm in like oneness eyes. Like I'm in like my consciousness is here. I'm definitely here, but I am in like no mind. I'm in definitely non-local, no mind, pure. Like it was intense. And so I see these feet, I think, and I hear them, and a flash right the corner of my eye. Like we're sitting right in front of each other. A flash is all I see, and I hear the footsteps, and a Polaroid is dropped on her lap. And I just see it come right down, and the Polaroid's dropped. And I see the Polaroid, and I'm like, that's interesting. And it's white. It's just white. It's like it's just got taken. It's fresh. And it starts to come up. It starts to come up. It starts to come up. And I'm looking. I'm just looking. And it starts to take shape. And I was like, that's odd. And then I'm like, what? And I'm looking. I'm like, okay, what the F? The background looks like Egypt. One big stone, huge like a tube, because I was just in Egypt with Nassim Harami in the residence. So this is a backstory for all of this too. Stone, and I swear to God on my life, on everything, that it was a picture of Thoth the being, and it wasn't a hieroglyph. He was like 12 feet tall, completely jacked, like super, he's a jacked being, whatever being was in this photo. And there was a girl in a chair. Okay? My mind goes, what the F? Like, what the F? I was like, oh my, what the F? I didn't, and he's holding a pen. And if you look in the hieroglyphs, he's always got a pen. If you look at me when I'm doing that, I'm holding the pen in the exact same way, but it's not a pen, it's a vibrational device. So I'm thinking, what the F? But this oneness consciousness, non-local mind feeling is so strong, it goes, and I go, okay, Matt, she's right in front of you. The picture's right on her lap. You can just meditate. Let's stay in this non-local mind, beautiful experience. You'll open your hands and she'll be in front of you. He's like, okay, cool, we can deal with that. Go back into the meditation, boom, completely launched again. Just out there. Maybe 10, 15 minutes goes by, I don't know. I feel the squeeze again. I open my eyes. When I open my eyes, I'm stuck in this non-local mind again. I look like a yogi. If you go to like India and you ever seen a statue and they're looking like, I'm not looking at you through Matt. I'm looking at like it's just very no mind. Okay, so she looks at me. She's like, huh. It's like a smile, and then like, huh, like what? Right? And then she starts to pack up her stuff. She's packing up her stuff. I can't get back to my body just yet. And I don't think
oh my God.
She packs up her things and she starts to leave. So I think, oh my God, this girl can't go anywhere. Like, I got to come back. It takes me a bit to like get into my body. And then I find, after she's taken 2-3 steps away, I just go, please wait. And she just keeps walking away pretty briskly. And I was like, darn it. And so I'm like, I got to go after. And I'm thinking, I was like, do I go after her? I was like, that might be weird. She's freaked out. But I was like, I got to figure out what's going on. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to go after her. So I get up and I try to take a step. My right leg is completely numb. I can't feel it. I'm like, just like my leg is toast and I can't walk. And I'm just like, what is going on? So I sit back down and I start rubbing my leg. And I'm just thinking to myself, what in the flying F-bomb is going on here? And I'm just rubbing my leg. And then 30 seconds later, she comes walking back down the path very briskly, right towards me. She walks right up to me, does not look at me, looks all around me, and goes, where's the photo? And I was like, I don't have it. She's like, where's the photo? And I was like, I promise I don't have it. She's like, empty your pockets. I was like, listen, I'll do anything you ask. I promise I don't have it. What did you see? Like, what did you see? And she's just like, empty your other pocket. I emptied my other pocket and I didn't have it. I lift it. She's like, lift up your legs. I lift up my legs. I was like, I promise I don't have it. What did you see? Please look at me. She's like, no. She wouldn't look at me. And I was like, look, and then basically she looks at me really quick and like just concerned and then walks away. So I'm like, okay, she saw whatever she saw. I don't know if we saw the same thing. I don't know what the deal was, but it obviously freaked her the frig out. And so I know that whatever happened was confirmed by someone else. So then, oh God. So then I look to my right and there's a tree, and this tree is like the Bodhisattva tree. This is like the Buddha awakening tree. There's 2 roots that come up and it like will hold your hips. And I look at it and I was like, I think I'm supposed to go there. So I take 3 steps over to this tree. I park my butt in there and it's a perfect fit, just perfect. I then proceeded to get launched into this meditative state for 6 hours, not once coming back and worrying about my body. And I meditate a lot, and I a lot of time I'm in my mind, and a lot of time, I'm get a good conscious state going, but not like this. This was I am launched in the deepest meditation state I've ever been in. Oneness, no mind. I could hear people around me and also have my consciousness like taken wherever. I realized that the wind, and I don't know, this is one of the things, but the forest, the earth communicates through wind, and it can send it across the oceans and communicate the other sides of the planet. I was like, oh, interesting. That's how wind works. I got taken to like the galaxies, and I didn't even, like when someone was near me, like I knew they were there, right? But I could also be anywhere else also, and just no concern with my body from midnight to 6 a.m. on the last day of a festival, stuck in this glorious state. A few times I was like, oh, I figured it out. Like maybe I'm just going to sit by this tree and like, that's life. Like I'm done. Like in that space, I saw no need to ever leave this peace and this state and this experience. And so around, the 6 hour mark, my leg hurt. So all of a sudden, 6 hours later, I started to feel pain. I'm like, oh crap. Okay. No, I'm starting to come out of this. You know what I mean? Like you need to try and force it. It's like, no. Like that experience is now done. And so I'm like, okay, my leg's starting to hurt. I go over to fire. And I see one of my friends there, and I'm starting to process what had just happened. I didn't know what the heck just happened. I hope in saying this, I want to know who that girl is and what she saw in that photo. I think that eventually I will meet her again. I think she might have been Australian. She was living in Costa Rica. She was blonde. She was cute. She might have been Australian. I think one day I'll know. But anyway, I just got back from Egypt with Nassim Harami and the Resonant Science Foundation. I was in the King's Chamber with crystal technology. You can go to artcrystals.com. They share that it creates a quantum field. The whole time I was in Egypt, they kept saying, this is an initiation, this is an initiation. I'm in the King's Chamber with the thing on my third eye, with a group of people going oming, with a group of the crystals behind my head. I'm the first group. With this group was the first group to go on all 3 pyramids on one night on the full moon. I don't know what this means, but that links to Egypt anyways, in my experience, right? All I can share is my experience, because it sounds nuts, I know that. The other thing, though, the life and teachings of the Masters of the Far East, which I was on book 4, I was like, this is an initiation. That book is written by Bear T. Spalding, who's a scientific researcher that followed yogis around. And basically, it's the autobiography of a yogi on steroids. Within the first 30 pages, people are bilocating. And he asks them, how the heck can you bilocate? And they give great, beautiful answers. It's like this universe on light, blah, blah, blah. And it's an extraordinary, the gnarliest books I've ever read on spirituality and what's possible for an ascended master. And so I'm reading those books and realizing that this is an initiation for me at book 4, because it's talking about, like what's possible. And so in that book, several times it mentions that we can take photographic evidence of things that like any period in history. And I want to find when I do the YouTube video on it, I'm going to find the exact references, but like they say, time isn't what you think it is. We can photograph physically any period in time. We can actually do that. They're like, we can photograph the light leaving your body when you die, like this light that's in you, like photographing things that you can't photograph. But in that book specifically, it mentions multiple times that stuff that shouldn't be able to be photographed can be photographed. So that's how I'm wrapping up how and what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't think that I'm Thoth. It wasn't that, but maybe he came for a visit. Maybe I just like stepped to the side, or maybe, on a practical magical thing, maybe somebody just took a picture and then it's like some sort of thing with a preset image. It's just a preset image that they have, and they take a photo and then kind of like a preset painting, so you can set it to whatever. Maybe it was just that too. That's practical. I don't know, but for me though. With the experience that I've been doing, and like for me to go to Egypt, I have to go all in. All the stuff that I do, for me going to like David, I'm always going all in on my complete faith with this higher power. And so I get these check marks, usually subtle, but I asked for it. Something multidimensional happened that freaked me out. And because I've experienced weird states, I was like, I could kind of handle it, but I was still like, what the flying F-bomb is going on? And then the picture just disappears. I thought she took it. And so, and then I have this multidimensional experience. And if you read the autobiography of a yogi, it's a lot like that. Yogananda just goes through and he does the daily practices, and life is challenging, and he deals with stuff, and he gets sad, and he does the teachings, he does it, and then all of a sudden, super gnarly experience. He's in like a cave somewhere with his masters, being like, "How is this possible? What is happening?" And so he has that. But then after that, he's got to go to California. He doesn't want to go to California because his home is in India, and he's got to take the bus and the boat. It's long and treacherous. It's, human crap. But then wild experience. So, and I've seen a couple of UFOs and stuff like that before, but nothing like that. So I haven't shared that yet. So thanks for letting me share that.
Bro, that was absolutely amazing. So, okay. What I keep getting is that, bro, we got to find this girl, and if we can, she's got to jump on the podcast with you so you can go through this with her. So, blonde girl with the tattoos. Show yourself.
I don't know if she had tattoos. Yeah, I think that's gonna happen. Yeah, I didn't know how to like hunt her down. All I knew, I think she was Australian, or she had an accent anyway. She could be English.
Okay. But
she'd been living in Costa at Envision Festival. She told people about it. She definitely told people about it. And so I'm curious what she saw. Because when she opened, like I think I was still myself, but I was stuck in no mind. Like when she opened, I was in like yogi eyes. There was like, Matt was here. I am Matt, but I was like on a vacation. I was like, I am like instantly when I started meditating with her, it was the deepest meditation I've ever had. It was just like, boom, this energy. It was like, I just like a high energy state, and I've had it like in glimpses through meditation, but it was this whole other animal, man. And it was intense and so beautiful.
So what did you see, bro? Like when you mentioned that you kind of saw the Polaroid as it was developing, how when you first take it and it comes out white and then it slowly the picture starts to come up. you kind of saw on there something that looked like Thoth?
Yeah, it was him, or somebody that looks exact. And he was jacked. He was so jacked. He was like 8-10 feet tall. He had the bird head, but it was physical. It wasn't a high. It wasn't a high. God. And he had the pin, and that is exactly what I just did to her, and it's exactly what I look like. I hold the pen, and I do this at festivals all the time. I do it at Burning Man. At every festival I go to, I do these, like, I call them different names or whatever. I'm like, hey, you want like a vibrational experience? And then I just teach them about manifesting real quick, and I go through and I buzz them and I give them a huge hug and send them on their way. And so he's holding it, and he's huge, and you can tell it's a dark room in Egypt, and there's it's all dark, but you can see the outline of one of the stones, right? Like one huge, part of a 200-ton laser cut stone, and he's holding it, and she's on a chair. And so, so my mind, I'd love to say the F word, and I'll try not to, but like, it was like as hard as you could say that word, it came up in the development. It was over my right shoulder, dropped in, I saw it get dropped in, and then I watched it come up. And so I don't know what that, right? Yeah, I don't know. So so if we're in a simulation, right, or something, but the thing is too, yes, it's a gnarly story. It is an incredible story. So what does it mean? What can this story have any use for anybody? What's even the point in sharing that? And if I'll just say what the point would be, and that is what I can say for me and myself and the way that I live my life. I do desire to have a connection with God in spirit. I genuinely do want to be in harmony and service to the greatest good. I do want to explore life and create this connection, and I'm asking for it, and I'm seeking, and I'm trusting myself, and I'm trusting guidance, and I go through doubt and pain and heartache and uncertainty and failure and all that crap, but the thing that I don't do is I don't compromise what my gut is telling me, where I think I'm supposed to go, and how I can help for anything, like I just don't. And so it's like this, I get small universal winks, but that's a huge universal wink, and it was just for me. And all I can, share with that is like, okay, wow, you had this great experience. What does that mean for me? It means you have that same connection. You have that same ability, but it's like a rite of passage. You don't get it over a day of being cool or a week of being cool. You get it over a lifetime. And the reward isn't a multidimensional experience where, flying saucers come in and I think we're really conditioned to think like, oh, and I was the same way. I wanted to lucid dream and pop out of my body and get all the cool candy and see aliens and spirit guides and all that. That's great. If you can see that, awesome, man. That sounds fun. But the point of it is you're here in this body. You're in a space where people need help. And I think that we came here to help. And what the real reward is real inner peace, and knowing that you are doing good work, and knowing that there is spirit on your side, and it will work out over time. But you got to keep having that faith, that trust, and be that example, and you're going to help a lot of people. And so the real reward of that is understanding that inner peace, that element is like, you're not alone. I know that you're not alone. You're protected. There is a force for sure that connects all things in all life, and you're being watched and protected, and so I think that could be like a practical thing for that, and it's the same with Yogananda. His life wasn't easy, but he didn't waver. He did what was asked. He followed his heart. He explored the path of self-realization and had a few multidimensional experiences, but it's not about those. Enlightenment isn't about that experience, although I had one. Yay, that's great. But what it does is just confirm that I was on the path. It's like, hey, here's a Super Mario coin. You're right, dude. Like, you're on the path. Like, way to go for doing it for 10 years straight. Don't worry. I know everybody thinks you're nuts and you experience that in your day-to-day life, but you are not. Like, this is your reality. And that's all I can share, man, my own reality in the best and most honest way that I can. And hopefully it's beneficial in some manner. And I think that when we connect with other humans and we value their experience and we value where they're coming from, we value their culture, we value their belief systems, we value who they are, we just allow them to share openly, and we encourage them, even if it's different, even if it opposes, if you're black and I'm white, if you're Muslim and I'm Christian, if you're, up and I'm down, and it's polar opposite. Just, well, what is it like to be down? Interesting. I've always been up. I'm just naturally an up person. What is it like to be, Muslim? What do you get? How do you get a connection from God? Why do you guys do that? Oh, that's interesting. Cool. Really great. Hey, do you guys want to come over for like some dinner later? We could just, talk, and, you guys like hockey? You like football? We could, meet there. Okay. No, I don't know. And so it comes back to like, couldn't be more human, right? We're here to have the human experience. And so that's the most spiritual thing, I think, is being present and being kind and following your own gut and your own guidance. And maybe you'll get a cool experience, but it's not about that. It's not about the candy. It's not it's so many people are doing it for the reward, for like the I want this crazy thing to happen like that, so I can experience. That's why people explore psychedelics, and I'm a psychedelic explorer myself, but in certain times with massive respect and understanding of what I'm doing, and now I think after that I'm like, okay, cool, I don't think I'm going to do them again for like a long time, and somebody would be like, oh, he's super high on mushrooms. It was a very small amount of mushrooms. I've taken a lot of mushrooms before. Half a gram of mushrooms is not going to do that. I know the difference. And maybe it was, maybe it was. I'm also fine with that because I don't know what the heck happened.
And what I love most about that whole experience and you sharing that with us, Matt, is that straight after you told us about this crazy experience, that you're sharing pretty much for the first time, straight after that, you're sharing with us that what's really important, going back to the practical reality of every day, going back to that kindness thing, like, dude, that's so special. That's really what it is all about. It's not about getting lost in trying to have an experience and, or all the theory in this and that. It's just the living, breathing reality, the small things of like being kind to people and being in that zone. I love how you keep going back to that. There's a lot of truth there. There's a lot of really heartfelt wisdom in you, bro. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. And yeah, when you're saying that, what it makes me think about is, you're a father, right? So,
yes.
Seeing all your kid do the thing for the first time, let's say I could gift you that experience. I'd be like, okay, you can have that exact same experience. We got to hook up a different simulation because we're already in one. But you can have that experience, right? And you're going to get the exact same thing. Would you trade that over like any of those moments for your kid? Would you like, hey, you're going to have to trade off a memory of would you trade it? No. Right?
No way. That's
exactly.
Right.
So who gives a shit? It's just a really neat story of what's possible with consciousness, but that is explored through years of meditation. And then I get this little coupon, right? The coupon is cool because it tells you you're on the right path, but the process is meditation. And meditation isn't easy all the time. Sometimes I go there and my mind doesn't shut up. Sometimes my body won't shut up. Sometimes something else is happening, right? Sometimes it's super great and I'm like meditating so deep and it's awesome, right? That's the point. It's like this middle, but magic is all around. Magic is me making sure that I'm not too focused on work and I'm watching my nephew grow up, That's magic, man. It's not going into this state into your mind to try to find another universe. You're in the universe you've been trying to find.
Gold. Absolute gold. You got to remember that, dude. I'm writing that down. That is super. What was it? What was it, bro?
I can't remember.
Oh, man.
We'll record it back, yeah.
Yeah, we'll go back.
It's not about something along the lines of like not going in to find another universe. You're in the universe.
That's it. That's the one.
Something like that.
That is absolute gold. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and I think that's a trap too. I think that like in the spiritual game and the ascension, it's become a trap. All the processes are for you to learn how to clear your mind and to become a gate. To become a gate with your thoughts, to become a gate with the influence, to just to be able to discern. To discern the thoughts and say, hey, Matt, you're a loser. Go get a job. Your podcast sucks. Whatever my mind might do to me. It's like, you're gonna die. Just get a job. Like you failed again. You need to sell more books. You get whatever. So it creates that gate, and you can then decide. It's very simple, man. And And so David Lombear, I keep talking about the kindness because he, as gnarly as this is, that story is nothing on his stories. Nothing. This guy is out of this world, literally. And there's 3 podcasts I recommend people listen. And he's like, I'm here to bring the star teachings to the non-natives. He said he grew up on a mountain. He's a native elder and got taught by 600 beings, over 600 beings for the first 26 years of his life. Beings. So I'm sure not some non-natives and beings, and however that works in their culture, but beings. And the first 3 star teachings are kindness, compassion, and happiness. Those are the 3. No matter what your belief system is, because it's a vibration, and we're in a vibrational universe. And so don't worry about the whole world. The whole world is messed up. You know that. But really, how messed up do you know unless you go there, right? You got to go to each and every spot, but you don't have that kind of time, and that doesn't make any sense. It's not logical to go to each different spot and try to solve it because I wanted to do that. I put the whole world on my shoulders. I was like, how do I stop starvation and more and things like that? And so, oh my God, what do I do? Help me! Like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, let me do something. I really want to do something. What the heck do I do? It's so big and problematic. What you can do is be the highest vibration that you can be, which is kind, compassion, and happiness. And so one of the things he taught me, one of the other star teachings, is 3 acts of kindness a day. So on my birthday, on March 27th, I put a challenge out to my listeners and asked them, I was like, if you guys like my podcast and you want to give me something for my birthday, do 3 acts of kindness. And so I thought it was only like paying it forward, but he's like, no, you could hold the door open. You can, in line, you can turn around and get the person's name behind you, say hello. Get involved with community. When somebody gives you the coffee, reach out, get their name, see how they're doing. You can let somebody in traffic. You can pick up a little piece of trash on the street that you just walked past. If you see something, he's like, give some money to your homeless. And so, I'll share one other gnarly story for you. So, 2. Yeah, I think she's fine with this. Okay, so I'll talk about my mom. So my mom, we'll just briefly, because things have been happening to other people. So my mom, my aunt recently passed. My mom was close with her as her sister, obviously. And the day after she had passed, she said she was talking to my cousin, and all of a sudden she felt something coming out of her body in the middle of her talking. There was black smoke and vibration coming out of her mouth, and she felt like something got pulled out of her entire body and breathed out. And Whoa. My cousin is looking at her, and she goes, Aunt Sarah, I know something is happening, but I don't know what's happening. And my mom's like, you can't, like, after's like, you can't see that? And so this is like, so this is happening while I'm with David Lombear talking about some intergalactic things, you know what I mean? It's like, so it's like, that's a gnarly, yeah, I was like, Mom, that happened. So one of the things he told me was, he goes, do you know that he's like, every time I talk, I say, go talk to your homeless, go give money to your homeless, see what they're about. He's like, do you know, a lot of your homeless are visitors. With Mike E.T. says visitors. It's like, the visitors. He's like, if there was another species that wanted to come to your planet, do you think that they would announce it on television and then be in front of you and then announce their arrival and say how cool they are, or would they disguise themselves and see which among you are compassionate, to try to figure out what your species is really like? He's like, you talk about peace on earth, you talk about love, how loving are you? And so we go for a lunch in White Rock. And again, I can only share my experiences, but I'm grateful. My mom's having some weird stuff happen too. But we go for lunch, and she has $20. And think about it. Normally, you see a homeless guy, you're not going to give him $20, right? So she's like, Matt, go give him some money. She's like, I'm comfortable, because he's like, looks like a crazy homeless guy, right? Like anybody else. But I was like, no, Mom, you got to go do it. This is your kindness. This is your act of kindness. You got to go do it. So she's like, all right, drive me up there. Anyway, so she drives up. She gives him the $20. The first words out of his mouth are, oh, thank you so much. This is my first time in this universe. My mom just stops and looks back at the car at me like, did you hear that? I was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Right? Wow. I was like, I don't know. Like, right? And then he goes off about, like, he's got this 3-year-old brother in China, and he's this 3-year-old in China, and then this other thing's going on. And then he just sounded like he sounds like a raving lunatic. unless you have the weird experiences that I have that lead up to that. So any random person would just think he's an insane person. Now, what is he, an alien, a visitor? I don't know. And I think that even when I met him, the whole point is not to like even worry about it. When we're getting in the car, I asked him a couple other questions. We get his name. I was like, awesome, man. Like, welcome to Earth. You know, it's great to have you here. And he just looks at us both after a little pause and just goes, I'm not lying.
Wow, wow. Dude.
It's like, what? So, you know, and so I think those experiences, again, like you don't even hold on to it. Like, what's the point, right? The point was that I was doing the acts of kindness, right? The point was I was doing the acts of kindness, and I was getting a feedback loop within the system. And Nassim Haramein talks about the feedback loop in physics and things like that, that you're getting a feedback loop. That's all I can know. I can know that if I go around and I tell everybody that they're a stupid piece of crap and I punch 20 people in the face, I'm going to get a different feedback loop in my reality. Fair?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So what if you do the kindness feedback loop? That seems like a feedback loop I'd like to be in. And from what I've studied about the universe and consciousness and reality and spirituality, that seems good. And he really kicked my ass a little bit and talked about spiritual people, things like that. He's like, most of them are selling books. He's like, yeah, they have good philosophies, but what are they doing? And he's like, 3 acts of kindness a day. You know, he's like, you can go and fill a stadium and you can tell them words, but what are you doing? Are you being kind to the person that brings you the meal? Are you going out of your way to do this? You know, if you have this big idea to create a retreat and then you create the retreat, but you do this one thing that one day, is like, that's not the same thing, because you're not being in the spiritual vibration every single day of who you are. I was like, that's such a great point. So in me making a point, and I realized how little I did. So, I mean, you know, and then he also says too, to kind of like to keep going, because it may as well, there's a lot of info there. We have 2 spirit guides, a positive and a negative, not to be mistaken with good and bad. And this comes from him, take it with a grain of salt, like whatever you want to think. Because the body is the ground, which also is the machine, which again comes back to simulation. Positive and negative, the body's the ground, they're not good and bad. It's because you need that to run electricity. And this is an electrical universe, there's one energy. And Robert Grant, in his course Etymology and Number, also comes to the same theory, and he's discovered that we're about to get 50 new mathematical constants, he predicts, and he's showing this course with with universities, top universities. Robert Grant is a massive deal and so smart. And he learned this through language, actually, not from a math or physics, but he's a math, music, language. So really interesting stuff, but come to the same conclusion, it's electrical. So if you're giving this money and you're in the spiritual vibrations, that you can measure it. So the body is the capacitor in happiness, kindness, and compassion. Your capacitor is at like 94, right? But when you're in fear, anxiety, doubt, I got that $2 that's left. I hold on to that as hard as I can with 2 hands and get dragged by horses not to give that up, right? Well, if you're electrical and currency is supposed to flow through you and you're holding on to it, why the heck would the universe give you more currency? So it's like you move first and then spirit moves. And so I've been I don't know what's going to happen, but I've just been giving $20 to homeless people now all the time. I keep going to the bank. It's like, I'm definitely not in a position where that's a smart move. Let's just put it that way. I'm not even close, man. But I'm doing it, but I'm just like, it just makes sense, and I'm talking to them. But I made a difference to that day, to that person, and it's a whole different way of thinking. It's a whole different way of thinking, and it's a whole different way of being. And then he goes into spiritual mass, and I'll, stop there. But 3 acts of kindness. So he goes in multidimensional, aliens, right? This stuff, and then 3 acts of kindness. How grounded could that be? Whatever your belief is, you could be kind. You can be kind to them. You don't have to believe the same thing, but you can be kind.
You're absolute gold, Matt. I'm getting this thing where I've got to put up on the screen this gentleman's name and how people can log on to your podcast and watch these episodes. It's just an urge that's been building and building and building. I haven't put it on the screen yet, and now it's basically, Mike, put it on the screen. So, dude, here we go.
Do it. Well, and you're in UFO things, so you can ask. Apparently, they can hear you. That you can ask. So he told me that you have to write it down and say it because there's, your body's an enclosed. You're in an enclosed system. So he's a Sajan also, which is a seer and hearer of spirit. And I saw him interact with some natives, and I know some people have known him for a while. They said when they went to the community in Canada, they know who he is. Like, he's like the real deal McCoy. And when I looked at. He's building a biodome, which is out of this world, and he doesn't want any recognition. He just wants to share the teachings and have you do it. He wants to share it. He has advanced technology, incredible technology, the biodome, and he's doing it with nothing. And he's so kind, man. He just is like, here, this is. And I watched how he interacted, and I was like, so funny. And he's just like, but just you watch the embodiment of it, And so I highly recommend people checking out his work. He needs help. Check out Star Teachings on Facebook. He's building a biodome. Look at that. I was at the biodome in North Carolina. It is it's a resonator technology. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. I'm vetting him with Robert Grant. Robert Grant is brilliant. He's actually going to go, he's like vetted by the smartest people that I know. Well, one of them. And so, he's building some cool stuff. But the things that comes back to like, okay, we could give you this technology and you could have advanced technology. But like, you can't even stop killing each other. You can't even get your head out of your ass to be kind to the guy over here. What is this even going to do for you? So the resonator can allow you to like create a vibrational environment to let you think clearly and let that stuff go. But it's I seek these people out on the podcast and around the world. I've never met anybody like them.
And what's the gentleman's name, Matt?
David Lone Bear Senepass. And Lone Bear Senepass. But if you go to facebook.com/Star Teachings, that's the best way to kind of look. And I have a few podcasts with him, and I can link up anything. If somebody hears this and they want to know, just give me a shout. But I have 3 podcasts with him. You can see, the Star Teachings is, I hope that's right. But if they Google, they'll find he has the world record for putting an unmanned balloon into space, and it has a chip on it, and it gets information. Unmanned. You can find it on YouTube. It exists.
Wow. And how do we get onto your podcast, Matt?
Search Matt Belair.
Go?
Yeah, Matt Belair podcast. You'll find me. MattBelair.com will be linked up all over the place. I'm on the internet, man. That's what happens when you make a crap ton of content. Just make awesome, anybody out there want to do that? Just make content, man, like a mother effort. In what you love, learn what you love. And that's actually another one of Dave's. And I'm looking for the masters. If Jesus Christ is here, if Buddha's here, if Yogananda's here, they're the guys I'm going to go talk to. That's what more to pursue in this life to be like real fulfillment. Like I want real fulfillment. And I'm like, look at this world. Like I can make a difference. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy this. I want to max this life experience out. Let's do this. And so. So one of the things I've learned is that one of his teachings is just like share what you know. Learn what you like, share what you know. Right? There's going to be a generation coming up. So it's simple, right? It's intergalactic and gnarly, but it's simple. Look at we're such a child civilization. It's nuts. If you had an advanced civilization, who would be the one that tries to defend to these visitors what we're doing to each other? How do you remedy that? What reason do you give them that this is happening? Now, when you go down that road, I've been right down to the bottom of the conspiracy theory stuff. I think that stuff's happening. I do think that we're suppressed. I do think that we're a slave species. I do think that we're getting messed with. And at the same time, we have our own sovereignty to get out of all of that. Even though the system is not in our favor, we can still be kind, we can still be compassionate, and we can still create a life within this and make different choices outside of what they're trying to force down your face. If we weren't being force-fed all the crappy food, all the conditioning, all the media nonsense, all the wars, all the control and stuff, we would probably have more peace. But really, it has to start with each individual. That's the ripple, and that's the challenge. And I think that's why we're here. Do it despite that, because then it doesn't become real, right? For me, like whatever's going on in America, Trump, Syria, things like that, if there's an opportunity for me to help, I'll go help. I'll go do it. If it's direct, if it's aligned, if it makes sense, I'll go help them, right? For now, I'm doing the best I can to use the gifts that I have to experience life, to be conscious of these things and make a difference the best that I can. You know, and if there's something direct out there, I can do that. But the more I clean up my reality, my thinking, my way of being, my service, my knowing who I am, I think that that's affecting those other things as well, giving more opportunity to come in. Maybe the next generation just makes all this money and they have all this wisdom, and then they can, go build communities. Maybe we're 2 generations out, but it starts literally through the thought, inner peace, kindness. Even not inner peace, be super pissed off on the inside. Just be kind. Be like, man, you cut me off, and all I want to do is punch you in the face. But the best act of kindness I can do is just to walk away, even though you're chirping me. Boom. Show the example. So I don't know.
So even though like a lot of these conspiracy theories and stuff like that are probably rooted in truth, they've probably got roots out there that are real. It's really going on. Again, you're always coming back to this thing, like, don't get lost just going into the rabbit hole of all these conspiracy theories, of all this stuff that may or may not be happening, or even if it is and they're really bad things. Like the US is definitely going through some pretty severe growing pains and evolutionary that evolutionary process where they're going up and down. But it's coming back to this thing of like kindness, what we each do as individuals in our own practical reality, always going back to that as the foundation. Bro, you are 100% gold. We are so aligned in everything that you've been sharing with us. So important. Like I really consider it. Your wisdom is very streetwise for the world right now, and I hope you know that. You need to keep talking more and more about these things, because you're a shining light for all of us.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, and I think I really appreciate that, and I think that everybody has the same ability, and it is simple. We are all that, and just be that example. Day in and day in and day in and day in, and with the conspiracy stuff, we've been down all those rabbit holes, and it's great. But I call it like Street Fighter. You have like a certain amount of daily energy, right? So you can use all that energy going down the conspiracy. You can use all that energy complaining about something. You can use all that energy in any way that you want. But ultimately, you're affecting your own reality. So the more of that energy you keep within you to build what you'd want to build and support. It's like if you're a beaver and you're going around and you're like yelling at that guy, that duck, because you don't like how he does business, and you're worried about, the logging companies coming and deforesting, right? He's like, oh no, then you go and you figure all that out. But you're not building the dam while you can build the dam. You're not building the structure that you can build. You're not building the solution, So have a peek, be open-minded, learn, consider, learning about food, right? That's a big one. Okay, maybe I shouldn't, consume that. Great. Can I solve the whole farming industry? No. But maybe somebody out there is super inspired to do a documentary to get to the bottom line because they feel like that can serve. So in an hour and a half, I can learn more about food than I have, through my whole life, right? Somebody gave me that service by following their beaver nature, or their moose nature, right? And I'm like, thank you, moose. That's great info because you're really tall and you can see over the trees and you saw we were getting messed up. I can use some of that. Thank you, brother. But let's keep cooperating. And so I'll talk about like Team Earth. What if, Team USA, Team Russia, Team North Korea, Team Canada, Team Sweden, everybody work together. Now, that's a huge ask, which is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, like, why that's not happening now. It just blew my mind as a kid when I figured that out. I said, wait, nobody's working together? Why not? I was like, what? Somebody tell me why this makes sense. And then I just got a whole bunch of nonsense. So, what can you do? You can work in harmony with your community. You can build something with other people. You have access to the whole world to build. So what are you building? What are you creating? And bringing that energy back to your life, because ultimately the world's coming to an end, and I was there too. It's all disaster. Maybe it'll happen, maybe. But in the meantime, I'm going to build a solution as much as I can. I'm going to live in love, and I'm going to live in peace. I'm going to live in kindness the best that I can, and build that solution so people have option A and option B. I can shut off this computer and go down this conspiracy rabbit hole. I can go down the politics rabbit hole. I can go down learning about making a pie. I could go down learning how to play the flute. David, I now have a flute. I suck at it, but it's pretty magical. Right? So I get to build that. And what you're noticing here, the energy, is because I'm keeping such a solid amount of energy within me to express how I want to express as a human. You know, that's what I'm doing. I'm not compromising. I'm having these human experiences that are epic, and I get stoked. You know, and so I have experiences to share, right? And my experience is what is the experience you want to experience? Then you can tell me about it, right? I can only experience my stuff. Like, wow, that's amazing. And you can become a master of anything, you know? So just enjoy your life, be in a higher vibration.
And this is where, again, things like Facebook and social media come into the fore and are so important for people to find their bliss and to like speak, like, don't hold it in. Share yourself with the world on social media, because you know it makes such a huge difference. We may think that, you know, for those of us that are doing this kind of stuff, that we should be concentrating on doing, you know, jobs or whatever, you know, like maybe the life that we used to have. In my case, I came from that world, the corporate world, and you know, suits, ties, vests, all that stuff. And I'm not in it anymore. And there's something that you said, you know, during this podcast that I thought, wow, you know, sometimes we can let certain voices tell us shit in our heads, you know, where we somehow mistakenly believe that self-worth is connected with being out there wearing a suit and tie, yes sir, you know, feeding the machine. And for those of us that break out of that, or have always been out of it, sometimes we can think to ourselves, oh, geez, I've turned into a loser or whatever. And that's such bullshit. That is such bullshit right down to the core. And that's one of the things that I'm loving about you most, Matt, that you are speaking your truth, you're walking your path, and you're a shining light, letting us all know that, no, you know what? In the big picture, this is the real shit. And the other stuff is bullshit. And we need more people to be, you know, Matt Belairs out there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate that. And what I can share too is it is not an easy ride over here. It is. I've had my very fair share of challenges. You know, when you're on this side, money can be a problem. I'm sure you can sort it out like smarter than I have. But it's challenging, man. It's not easy. The thing is, it's not easy to do. It's just, it's simple, but not easy. You know what I mean? We know what we're supposed to do. We know when we're lying to ourselves. And that's the whole thing. It's just like, I just shoot. You know, I ran out of my loan last year. I had 27 grand. I ran out of it last year in like April, like my birthday, right? And and you know, I get money like here and there in these little bits. And I still managed to go to the Oregon eclipse, go to Burning Man, go to Egypt with Nassim Haramein, and like have I was in Sedona. I had the most wild year. And I had no idea how I was going to do anything. Now, you know, I got to a point where I ran out of money, and like I felt depressed and I felt like a big loser. I was 33. I had to ask my parents to borrow money. They let me borrow money. They bailed me out. That's a thing that happened. What I had to go through was, and my parents are they're average folk. They don't have money to bail. They gave me a few thousand, nothing crazy. Just enough to like pay this like little bit, you know. It was a small amount, but it was huge at the time. You don't have it, but maybe they didn't. And then what would be the worst thing that happened? You know, I thought it through. Somebody would call me and ask me for money, and I'd tell them I didn't have it. Now maybe my credit get ruined, and that's not great. You know, people want good credit and stuff like that, but I just don't give a crap, because that experience in Egypt transcends any problem that I could have, you know what I mean? And this moment in time, I needed to get my butt to Egypt to go, and I would not change that experience for anything. And so, you know, it's not easy, but I had to do the leap. I have to have faith and, you know, and figure these things out. And you feel like a loser, and like, why aren't you making any money? And whatever the case is. And that's a process, and that's me alchemizing my own stuff. But, you know, maybe they wouldn't have helped me out and my credit would have got messed up. So what? I would have still had that experience. What's the value of that? A year, 10 years, whatever the case is, you know? So you got to have that courage to leap. It's not easy, but listen, that's the thing with myself is like, I know when I'm being honest with myself, and I know if I take the leap, the universe will have my back. You know, worst case scenario, man, I even thought this the other day. I was like, bro, I would just crush it as a homeless guy. They'd be like, no problem. Be homeless like maybe for like a few months. Eckhart Tolle had his awakening, and he just sit in a park bench for 3 years. You're gonna be in like, what are you homeless? I love camping. I'll figure out a tent. I'll go get some bottles. But Matt's homeless. That's nuts, right? But like, yeah, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? I met Bill and Tom, and those guys are addicted to drugs. I try to help them a little bit. These guys are, that'd be a brief period of time, an extraordinary experience. But that's literally the worst thing that can happen, and I'm okay with that. It's not ideal. It's not what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for something else. But you can allow for that. You got to be willing to do that, and people aren't willing to let go. They want to keep acquiring, and it's safer. Their nest egg gets a little bit bigger. But what's happening is you're missing life, and you're missing how powerful you are. You're missing this opportunity to have faith. How else would you have faith if you don't make leaps? How else would you know Spirit was on your side if you don't take leaps? Oh, everything's covered. It's all nice and neat, and there's no risk. Perfect. None. You got a backer, then another backer, and another backer, and another backer. It doesn't work like that, and boring.
You're a warrior, Matt. You're an absolute warrior. And you know what? Like, after this is finished, I'm going to rewatch this with my wife, Trace, because I keep saying we're so in sync. Things that you're saying, during this live cast, bro, oh my God. I'm going through a lot of this stuff that, we're talking about right now, and I was having a conversation with my wife a few days ago saying, look, blah, 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 blah. We were talking, and, you just hit it on the head there, that you've got to go through life doing what you have to do. Sometimes we create, something out of nothing, and we think, oh, that's so bad. Oh my God, what if my car gets repossessed, or what if this happens and I can't pay that bill? And it's like, that's the programming just overtaking us, and it's not real. It's not our natural state. And I'm going through this hard right now. I back in my old life as the old Michael Pinilla. Who the hell was that guy? I don't even know, but he racked up massive debt, bro. Like, had to have the cool car, had to like have the best threads, because that's who I thought I was. Now that's no longer the case, but I'm still left having to pay every week, for those old egotistical choices that I made. So, dude, I'm so connecting with what you're saying. Your humility and just speaking your heart here live on Facebook with the audience, absolute gold, man. I'm so happy that, we got connected together through our mutual friends.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you making the leap, man. It's like the enlightenment. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. If anything, it's harder.
Yeah.
Anything is way harder over here. It's like, oh my God, there's different problems to solve, but you ultimately know you're honoring yourself, and you're honoring yourself. That's it. And so what I'd invite you to do is just go down to the worst case scenario. You lose, you don't pay your bills, you get bankrupt, you have nothing. What would happen? You're in Australia. You get taken care of by the government, and you get a job. Right?
Yeah, right? Pretty much, bro. Yeah.
It's not even that bad. It's not even that bad. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in Canada. I was looking at when I was kind of going through this, the biggest problem with running out of the money and needing to ask my parents for help was the shame that I felt. Felt shame. Felt like I'm a loser. How can you be 33? And then actually the other thing was like, I'm trying to do this work. I'm trying to follow my heart, but I'm depending on other people, And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And they're like, no, Matt, like, we want to help you. Like, we want to help you. Let us help you. And so, but I felt like, I'm doing this, but I need to depend on other people who are in the system doing the thing that I'm kind of like talking against, or saying, hey, consider. So, you could do a middle path, but I've seen to do way over here path, but that's my path. It's like a bit random, but like that was the process of like this deep failure, like needing to depend on people. But I was like, you know what? I was like, fine. I was like, guys, I'm totally fine with it. I was like, the housing that we had in where I grew up is nicer than where I was going to rent in Vegas. I was going to rent this like cheap spot in this street, and it like felt so weird. And I was like, that would be a nicer space than I would have there if it all crumbled, you know? Or I would grab a tent and they'd be like, where are you living? I'm like, I live down by the river. Like, you know, I play the flute and people give me a few bucks and I grab a sandwich. And actually life is great now because I don't have to worry about shit. I literally just sit down and play the flute and just watch. And we're not doing that. What is wrong with a life like that? What's wrong with just existing and being? We're you know, Wayne Dyer would say we're not human doings, we're human beings. And so if we can marry that to the push and pull, the masculine and feminine, you know, the logic and the creative, but really that deep-seated thing that is what is coming from you, honoring that connection. And there's no free passes on the other side. I haven't seen one person earn a free pass that I really deeply respect, that I know that they're in resonance. They all earned it. Nobody gets a free pass. Not one person that I know. You got to earn it. And then that way on the other side, and that's where you know who did it. And you're like, oh, how did you get here? And there's like, oh my God, it was like this and this and this. Like, oh yeah, like yeah. And that's why when you're on it, you're just trying to pull people. You're just trying to encourage. Like, how do we get you to where you're happier? What can we do to support you? How can I help you? You know.
Matt Belair, what's a final message that you can give to the audience that are going to see this, that are watching now, or that are going to see it later on today or tomorrow or in the coming days and weeks? What's a message that you can send out to the world?
I think that I covered a lot of it, and I would just kind of go back to some of the things that I said, and you know, try to connect, learn how to quiet your mind and connect with yourself. God, you know, you want to be a spiritual master. God is within. God is you. You got to learn how to quiet your mind. You got to go in. Figure out who you are. What do you like? What makes you happy? Do those things. If you can only do it an hour a week, do it an hour a week and then 2 hours a week. You have a whole lifetime to create your reality. It doesn't happen overnight. Just really think and get quiet and design. Think about who you are, who you want to create. You can create yourself. You create yourself every day and every moment. You create yourself every week. Just really get clear. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Be kind, compassionate, happy. You know, share that and do an act of kindness every single day. You don't have to do 3, do 1. And if you set into that program, you're in a higher spiritual vibration. You're actually opening up your capacity to experience more electrical energy, because we're an electrical universe, so it's a spiritual hack. And if you want help, you gotta ask, and you gotta write it down. It has to be written, and that way spirit can come in and it can help you get. So always write, just uncover yourself and just enjoy and have fun. It's your choice whether you make it serious or you make it fun. And you can dance through life, or you can cry through life, or you can do anything in between. But we want to experience everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the stress, all of it. And it's your perspective of how you navigate through that. So, you know, realize that you're incredibly powerful and go into the worst case scenario. You know, I was like, man, wouldn't it be hilarious if I was homeless? Like, that's funny. You know, I'm like, but I'd like to figure that out. Right? You get a job somewhere. It's actually not that bad if you just go right down. The thing that you're not going to like is feeling like a loser because your friends are in a Mercedes that they can't pay for. Look at Michael. Look at how cool I am in a Mercedes. Gosh, for a couple of years. Damn it! Why did I should have just got a Toyota? Shoot. So that's it, man. I think quiet your mind. You know. Spend time on who you are. Be kind to yourself and others, and you know, and realize you're a powerful being, man. You got a whole universe on your side, and you know, if you can do that, you create your life. You have that power. You're the one creating your reality. No one else can do it for you. So just bringing that energy in, and it is that simple. All this stuff is that simple. It's just hard to do on a daily basis. And everything outside you telling you not to do it is all external agendas. It had nothing to do with you, right? If I listened to anybody else, luckily I was weird all the time. My friends just didn't understand me. Right? So it's just like, but sometimes you have like this concern, you know, it's like, oh no, is he going to be okay? But I know that. Like, oh, he's nuts. Like, what's happening? Right now they're like, oh my God, like, look at all this stuff. Like, he just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And I was like, okay, Interesting. So maybe you can find like a little bit of a middle ground. I'm just way over on the one side, but it's the way that I wanted to play the game, I guess. That's it.
I've made so many friends doing this live cast already. It's only been such a short amount of time, and I've no doubt, that you and I are going to connect much further after this. Matt, this has been one of the absolute most enjoyable live casts that I've done. I've looked at the clock. Bro, we've been at this 2 hours, and we could easily go another 2 hours. I mean, easily. So I'm hoping that you'll be back again and be a regular on our live cast. I certainly implore all of our audience to jump on mattbelair.com, start listening to Matt's podcast. I know that Trace and I definitely will. And brother, what an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you, from the bottom of my heart for spending this couple of hours with me and sharing yourself to all of us. Your humility is a big lesson and a huge example to all of us. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. We need you.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. And anybody hearing this, I just want to send like all of my love and gratitude for you, and realize that, all of this is just like fun and story and whatever, and inspiring or whatever it is. Just do one act to kind of say hi to someone. You are that thing. You are the entire universe. Anything that tells you differently is something that's not true. And so just know that you're loved, you're whole, you're perfect, you're harmonious, you're worthy, you're accepted, you're supported, you're amazing, and definitely don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, especially yourself. So if you listen to this, I love you, and I hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you, brother. Thanks so much for joining us, man. I love you, dude.
Love you too, man. Take care.
We'll catch up in the coming days, man. Thank you.
Sounds good.